For most of my professional shoots, I do use some pretty high-end gear. That's because after 25 odd years of shooting, I've accumulated quite a lot and gradually built up my gear to the level it's at now. But it got me thinking the other day about using some gear that maybe someone just starting out can use. So I thought I'd do a little bit of an experiment and compare the results between a $3,900 setup and a $900 setup. Is there really going to be $3,000 difference in the image quality? I don't really think so, but today we're going to find out for sure. So this kit here is basically one of my go-to kits. I love this setup. On the outside here we've got an Elinchrom Indirect light mode of 190cm Octa box. So indirect means that the light is actually mounted inside. If we have a bit of a look, you can see that there's an Elinchrom ELC500 mounted in here. So it's designed to bounce into the back of the indirect softbox, spill around inside, bounce back through this front diffusion panel and give you a very, very soft light. Now, a lot of R&D has gone into the design of this softbox. This silver interior has lots of little dimples, which are designed to really scatter the light to a large degree. And it's that design which has made this a really, really popular light modifier, not only from Elinchrom users, but also Profoto and Broncolor users who use adapters to mount their lights onto this modifier. So the $3,900 price basically comes from the light motor of Indirect, which is around $1,900, the Elinchrom ELC500, which is around $1,600. And today I'm also going to be using the Elinchrom Skyport HS Pro trigger, which is another $400 odd. So what we've got on this side is an X-Lite umbrella. It's 165 centimeters in diameter, so it's a little bit smaller than our 190 centimeter Octabox. You can get these umbrellas in 180 centimeters as well, so a little bit bigger. And on the front here is the diffusion, which basically just sits over the top with a bit of elastic. So a really simple setup. All up for the umbrella and the diffuser, you're looking at around that $300 odd mark. Mounted inside, I've got a Godox AD200. Now I did think about doing this with a speed light to make it even cheaper, and that is certainly going to be possible to do. But the AD200 being 200 watt seconds versus the 500 watt seconds in the Elinchrom ELC500 was a little bit more even in terms of the recycle speed and so forth as well. So one of the other advantages of the AD200 is that you can use this bulb flash tube, which extends out from the front of the unit and allows the light to spread basically any direction except backwards. So it is designed to basically push light into the back of the umbrella and also to the sides. So that's going to maximize the amount of bounce around inside the umbrella before it comes back through this diffusion panel. Compare that to a normal speed light, which basically has the Fresnel front. The light is only going to send straight back into the back of the umbrella and not out to the side, so it's not going to bounce around as much and be quite as soft as this flash unit. So these AD200s here in Australia sell for around $500 or a little bit less. And I've got it mounted just in an X-Lite umbrella softbox adapter for speed lights. So this will mount any sort of speed light or the AD200s really, really well. And it just clamps down like so. And just rounding out the equipment list for this setup is the Godox X Pro trigger for Fuji, which sells for around 100 Australian dollars. So let's talk about some obvious advantages and disadvantages of these two setups. Firstly, with the Elinchrom ELC500. Not only is it a more powerful unit, it has much quicker recycle time, and the other major advantage is the modeling light. So this modeling light can be set to free, which means you can dial in the amount of output you want. It is a 300 watt bulb that they use in these modeling lights, so very, very bright. So that makes it really useful when you're shooting in a dark environment, so you can see exactly where that light's falling. The other setting is to have it proportional to the output of the flash. So now if I dial the power down, I'm also dialing down the brightness of the modeling light. So in contrast to that, the AD200 has no modeling light when using the bulb flash head. You do get a small modeling light when using the traditional speed light for an L-type head. So today I've got the very lovely Jessica coming in to model for me. We're going to do some very beautiful portraits in this studio environment using both these setups. And then we're going to compare the result, and you guys can decide whether there is actually $3,000 worth of difference in the quality of the images that we captured today. All right, let's get stuck into it. Okay, I've got Jessica in and we're ready to go. First going to use the Elinchrom setup, and I'm going to shoot tethered today so we can see the images popping up on the screen as we shoot. So the first thing I want to do is actually just use a light meter. I figured to keep it comparable, the best thing to do would be to use a light meter to test and set the exposure for both setups. So I'll just check my light meter reading to start with. So I think Jessica's in the right spot. Yep, that looks pretty good. All right, pointing back to the camera position. All right, that's reading 6.7.3, 125th of a second. Now I do want to shoot at 5.6, so I'm just going to drop that power a little bit. It's currently set to 3.5. Take it to 2.5 and we'll see what we get. Do another one. 4.8, which is close enough to 5.6. So that's a good enough starting point. So I'm going to do a test shot now. So I'm going to be shooting with the Fuji X-H1 today with the 16-55 2.8, and I want to keep my exposure at f5.6, 200 ISO, and I'll shoot at shutter speed of 125th of a second. So that's going to make sure we don't have any movement, we don't have any of the room light starting to come into the exposure, but also not push it high enough that the flashes are going to try and want to go into high speed sync mode. Good, great position. See how that looks. Looks pretty perfect. Look at the histogram there. We're just a little bit under in our highlights, which is fine. It means we're definitely not clipping any highlights. Yeah, really happy with that. Got a nice tone of grey on the background. We've probably got a distance of maybe 2.5 meters to the corner of the cyc there. So one of the advantages of using a really big light source like this is that it is going to spread the light quite a lot. Now on the video, the cyc looks really, really bright. That's because I'm actually lighting us with some video lights, and I've lit the background there to keep it a bit brighter and to take out any of the shadows that are being caused by these front lights. So what you're seeing on the video is not an actual representation of what we're capturing with the flash. So I'll just do a few more shots with this setup, varying our composition. Yeah, nice, just keep it straight on like that. Cool, just turn your body a little bit more this way, that's good. Let's have a look at that. Alright, so I'm deliberately not shooting with a reflector today because I do want a bit of modelling to light across Jessica's body and her face. But I want to make sure we get a little bit of a highlight in the eye on that shadow side, which we're getting there at the moment, which is really nice. I'll get you to turn your body a little bit further away this time, but bring your face back to your shoulder a little bit more. Just open shoulders to me a touch. Yep, yeah, that's perfect just there. Great. Nice. Let's see if we're still getting a bit of light in that eye. Yeah, we are. That's a little bit of highlight there. Perfect. So these are coming in directly from the Fuji with no profile applied, so just as the raw file is captured. Just do some tighter headshots now, so actually turn your shoulders this way a little bit more now. That's good. Great. That's really good. Let's look at those. Yeah, that light is really beautiful. It's got some really nice shape. Brings out your cheekbones. Super pretty. So let's do the opposite way, facing that way, and I'll do a tighter headshot like that. Actually, I might just get you to brush your hair off your shoulders a little bit this time. That's good, perfect. Just bring your face around to me a little bit more. That's good there, great. Really nice. Beautiful. Right, I'm going to do some wider shots now, so shooting horizontal. That's good. Might just get you to step back that way, just a tiny bit. Yeah, perfect. Just there. Nice. Just make sure, because I've got you stepping a little bit further away from the light, just make sure we've still got the right exposure, which we do. Very nice. And some, yeah, facing that way a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. Excellent. And just a few kind of facing, yeah, straight on. Just the wider shots again. That's good. Yeah, nice. Good. So one of the big advantages that I spoke about in the intro was the recycle time, and that is a big advantage of the ELC500. So I thought I'd test that out. So I'm going to switch over to shoot in continuous high, and I'm just going to get Jessica to kind of just keep kind of moving back and forth like this, but looking sort of at the camera, looking, yeah, that sort of thing. And I'm just going to rapidly shoot and see how the flash keeps up. So yeah, just in that kind of position. Actually, I'll do it horizontal so you can move your arms around a little bit more. That's perfect. All right, ready, go. And fill the buffer up. And look at that. Perfect exposure every time. Poor old computer is struggling keeping up. That cool?
Very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like for a fashion catalogue or something like that.
It does.
Very nice. I like it.
Probably make a little GIF out of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, so that's the shots from the ELC500 with the light motive indirect. So I'm going to switch over now to the Godox AD200 with the umbrella, and we'll do the same sort of shots and just make a comparison at the end. All right, we've swapped over sets now. We've got the Godox with the umbrella, and I'm going to do my light meter reading. I've now got the X Pro trigger in my hand. All right. So I've got it set to quarter power, and it's giving me f6.7. So I'm going to drop the power back a little bit. Let's try it at 1/8. That's giving me 4.8, which is exactly what we had before. So I'll do a test shot now and we'll see what the results are like. Okay, that's great. Let's have a look. Well, you blinked.
Oh, no.
Derp. But our exposure looks pretty spot on. Pretty much exactly the same as what we had before. Let's do one where you aren't blinking.
It is Sunday.
Yes, it is Sunday. Perfect. That looks pretty good. Yeah, pretty happy with that exposure. And looks to be pretty similar result, to be honest. So let's just run through some of those same shots and we'll have a little look on the computer and compare some shots. Turning into the light again. Yep, that's it. Bring that right hand up. Yeah, that's nice. Excellent. All right, drop the hand and come in for a tighter portrait shot. Excellent. Just get you to brush your hair off your shoulder a little bit there. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, spinning around the other way. That's good. Just bring your shoulders around a little bit more this way. Yeah, perfect, just there. Nice. All right, first impressions are that we don't have quite the same wraparound effect from this umbrella as we did from the Octa. It is a slightly different shape and the Octa is obviously bigger, so that's going to help. We might try just bringing you a little bit closer to the umbrella. That's good. I'm just going to try that same shot again. So looking kind of this way, that's it. That's good. Nice. Yeah, so you can see our exposure's got a little bit brighter. We've got a bit closer, but it hasn't really improved the wraparound. We are getting a tiny little bit there, a little bit of a highlight. So in post, I could easily just sort of lift that little section there and get a little bit more light in the eye. So looking at the histogram now, it's pushed up a little bit now that we've got her a little bit closer. but it looks like we're still holding detail in there nicely, so that exposure is looking pretty good still. And it could just be that my brightness on my laptop screen is just a little bit bright, which is looking a little bit bright on her highlights here. But let's see if we can just grab a couple of shots to compare. Let's grab that one. That one. Comparing the two. So on the left, we have the Elinchrom kit with the Light Motive 190 Indirect. And on the right, we've got the Godox with the umbrella. So a little bit more shadowy on the Godox, so that, as I said, the light isn't wrapping around quite as nicely. There's also a difference in color temperature, which is interesting. The Elinchrom is a little bit warmer compared to the Godox. So pretty similar results, but there is a difference, and whether that is worth $3,000, I'll let you decide. But one last thing I want to do is just test shooting the Godox in that rapid fire and just seeing how well it keeps up. All right, so I am shooting at an 1/8 power on here, so it shouldn't have too much trouble sort of keeping up, but let's give it a try. Okay, I'll get my focus first, then you can go. Okay, go for it. Buffer is full. That was surprisingly good. It kept up really, really well. So while it did keep up at an 1/8 power, if we start pushing that power right up to, say, full power, the recycle time is going to be a lot slower, and it's just not going to keep up that much. So just depending on what you're trying to light, what kind of exposure you're trying to shoot at, will determine on whether you can shoot rapid like this. All right, I'm just going to go back to our flagged shots now. And I'm going to try and make that Godox shot look a little bit more similar to the Elinchrom. A touch more warmth. I'm going to lift the shadows a little bit there. So that's the before and after, what I've just done. Now let's compare it to the Elinchrom shot. So I've got Elinchrom on the left and Godox on the right, and I think those are looking pretty similar. Color temperature's about the same now. We've still got a little bit nicer wraparound on this shadow side compared to the shadow side on the Godox, but gee, those shots are pretty similar. What do you reckon?
I think so, yeah. The slightest warmth on the left.
Yeah, like they're pretty similar.
Yeah, very similar.
It's more about this shadow area here. It's a little bit softer gradation on the Elinchrom compared to the Godox and the umbrella.
I mean, both done a great job.
Yep, pretty happy.
Yeah, awesome.
So there you go, guys. That was a really interesting test. I'm not so surprised with the results, because I did think the Godox could handle the similar sort of result to what the Elinchrom was doing. The big difference obviously is just in the modifier itself, more so than the flash. Being a slightly smaller umbrella and not having the same kind of shape as the Elinchrom, and not having the same interior which maximizes the bounce around in the Elinchrom light motive, has resulted in the Godox with the umbrella just giving a slightly harder edge shadow. So that's about the only real difference. There obviously was a little bit of a color difference in the two flashes as well, but that's easily fixed in post and it's a personal preference anyway. So thanks again for joining us. Hope you got something out of this video. Till we see you in the next one. Ciao for now.